Hello and what is going on today, guys? Tom Cat here and welcome back to Need for Speed Heat. Now in this video we are going to be buying a BMW Z4 M40i, I mean the BMW Z4 M40i, absolutely, for sure. Anyways guys, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be turning this thing into a drift car, and I'm going to be showing you guys my process of exploring the drift handling and the drift physics in Need for Speed Heat. Now this was one of my earlier introductions to the drift physics, and so I'm going to go ahead and preface this right now with I am not anywhere near pro level with these physics yet. But you know what? We're going to try our best, and we're going to see what we can do. So now we are in the garage with our Z4, and we're going to go ahead and get the stance the way we want it, meaning slamming the crap out of it, dropping it down all the way, and bringing up the front and rear camber, but I'm definitely cambering the front a lot more than I am the rear, because I just kind of wanted to give it that drift car vibe. Obviously, drift cars have a ton more camber in the front than they do in the rear. A lot of the real-life drift cars actually don't really have much camber in the rear at all, and they have a ton in the front to get the front to bite on the way into corners. Now, this car actually has an interesting difference in tone when you mess with the exhaust sound. Depending on how simple or throaty you have it, it kind of goes up and down this scale, and it's a little bit weird, but I'll let you guys kind of hear it in the background. You can see what I mean, but like, it's definitely a little bit on the odd side. But you know what? I mean, I feel like with a tunable sound, like with tunable sounds, you're going to have some cars here and there that are going to be a little bit odd, and, you know, messing with them is going to be part of the fun of messing with this sounds, the tunable sounds system. So I really do like the overall sound of the car. I just found that, you know, that resonance and tone a little bit odd, a little bit interesting. But at the end of the day, you know, you can let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Now, for the customization around this car, it was actually a lot of fun to customize. It actually had a lot of options, because when I went over into the body customization, I mean, there is quite a lot to do. Now, I wanted to sort out the wheels first, because wheels-wise, I mean, the wheels make a car, and I will always say that about any car. The wheels make the car. And, you know, since it's a BMW, I almost immediately went with like something like a BBS or something like that. But then I decided to search a little bit further throughout the wheel list, because I wanted to get a genuine idea of what was out there, and I wanted to use something a little bit different, because we are dealing with a drift car here, not necessarily a grip car or something that's a little bit more purist. So I felt like we had a little bit more freedom to play around with the style of the car. And you guys can let me know what you think about my wheel choice in the comment section down below. I ended up liking my wheel choice. It's not those, just so we can get that right out of the way. We did not build a drag car, but you can let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of my wheel choice. I thought we ended up with a pretty good choice, but again, let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of it. Now, at the end of the day, this car is one of those cars that is always going to be known as like the, well, not always, but it, well, may very well always be known as the, you know, as kind of like a, not necessarily a sister car, but like, you guys get what I mean. It's going to be the Z4, aka the Supra, aka the Z4, aka the Supra. That isn't a Supra because it's a BMW, but everybody calls the BMW the Toyota, and everybody calls the Toyota the BMW one. You guys get what I'm talking about. It's FRS BRZ syndrome all over again with this car, and I think it's always going to be that way. I think eventually that vibe will die down later on down the road, and people will just accept this one as the Z4 and the Supra as the Supra, even though they're built, I believe, alongside each other in the same production line. Pretty sure they are anyway. But playing around with the tires, I kind of wanted to go for something that looked a little bit cooler than stock tires. I ended up going with like sort of a Toyo R888 style look, and I made sure to come back to the front and redo that look and feel up front, because that's kind of what I wanted. It does also kind of push it out just a little bit more, kind of, but that's really only because the tires are stretched, which Say what you will about that look. I actually also dropped down the wheel size a little bit because I felt like these looked just a little bit oversized, just a little bit too big, and they sort of struck me as genuinely looking like steamrollers for a second. When I stepped back and looked at it, I was like, oh no. Now, as you can see, the body kits on this car are very, very varied, and I kind of like that one that ties into the rear wing, like the miniature rear wing on the back, but I actually did not end up using it. I used this more standalone looking fender or over fender design. I like how it looks in comparison to the other one. I think it looks a little bit more raw, and I think it looks a little bit more drift car style. That one's a little bit weird as to how they've tuned the aero of it, and then I used the more swooping one in the front, and I think they ended up making a nice pair and making a nice look together. Now, that hood, I don't know about that hood, but I think I may use that hood scoop, but not the like crazy ridiculous like hood vent system. Now, I would normally, you guys know me, I love hood vents, and normally I would be totally all about jumping all over as many hood vent designs as I possibly could, but there is such a thing as too many holes in a hood, and that set of hood vents was such a thing as too many holes in the hood. Now, I do like the fact that they have a more simple kidney grille design that is a little bit more reminiscent of old BMWs. I definitely went for that one over the other design. Went for some front canards as well as checking out the front splitter selection. They have quite a few things up here for you to choose from. And when you look through the list, I mean, you'll end up with one, you'll end up liking some and not liking others. But that's the thing, right? I mean, customization is subjective. It's a very, very, very subjective thing. That's why it's here, so you can make the car look the way you want it to look. Not necessarily the way someone else wants it to look, but the way you want it to look. And that's why there are going to be parts that you're going to go, ooh, and there's going to be parts that you're going to go, ugh. But you will find the parts setup that you like throughout this customization system. And almost every car has so many different options that you are bound to find something that you like. Now, going through the paint customization here, I didn't want to spend too long in here, but I did want to spend long enough to get a color combo that I liked. I ended up settling on this very interesting sort of like dark violet purple / blue. You guys can tell me what you think in the comment section below on what I ended up with, but I think I ended up with something pretty cool. And also you could see in there's another save, which is an E46 M3, which you guys will be seeing later on in the future. That is going to be a grip car, and I have all the footage of that build, which I will be sharing with you guys later on down the road. So if that's something you want to see, make sure you are subscribed and up to date and following with that notification bell clicked. And also, now we get to go through the performance customization, which goes through all the different things like the ECU, the crank, the cooling system, all that stuff. And you can see that up to our current rep level, we have a certain level of parts unlocked, and we're just using money to buy them as you would in effectively real life. Now, the turbo and supercharger setups are really, really cool because, as I will show you guys in later videos, the turbos actually will change the sound of the blow-off noise and the spool noise. The superchargers will actually add a whine. So there's a lot to like there in terms of sound that is added based on the forced induction option you go with. And as you can see, suspension option-wise, you are all over the map. I mean, you have so many different things you could choose from. And also, as you can see in the little handling square over there, the little dot will actually move either closer to or further away from whichever of the four traits you're trying to get to. Now, the tires play a big role, big role. Now, I accidentally ended up with showcase tires on this car, and I can't remember if I ended up with showcase tires or drift tires. I think I ended up putting drift tires on this thing because I almost put showcase tires on it, and I was like, wait a minute, no, you know what? No, I'm gonna go just for straight up drift. Now, I did put the fully upgraded Elite Plus 8-speed in this car, which I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea, but at the end of the day, it's kind of one of those things where, you have to explore the game and figure out what works best for you. There's all sorts of different differentials. The showcase differential, I think I put in this car, which in hindsight was not the best idea, not the best option. I ended up like kind of right in the middle between drift and road, but the weird thing about that was the fact that, so I did the showcase suspension and the showcase diff, and I didn't really think about it, ahead of time, so I wanted to share this gameplay with you guys, but I will say, like, ahead of time, I just want to make you guys fully aware of the fact that the handling that you see with this car is showcase handling, not necessarily drift handling. So, I mean, technically it's a blend of kind of grip and drift, but there are going to be bits in the drift gameplay where you'll see the car kind of violently grip up, and that is more due to the fact that I have a showcase setup, or a predominantly showcase setup on the car rather than a drift setup. That was my mistake. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there right now, so you guys know that it was my mistake, and you will be seeing more gameplay later on with a proper drift suspension. I built a drift Mustang that you guys will see more of later on, and here you can see a first glimpse of what those physics are like. It's a stark contrast to the grip physics that you guys have been seeing in my earlier gameplay videos that you guys would have seen earlier today. So with all of that being said, getting into the drift event itself, my first lap was absolutely terrible. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know that right off the bat. The first lap was absolutely awful. Second lap, I started to pick it up a little bit, and then third lap, I kind of had some good runs and some bad, some good corners and some bad corners. So putting that out there right off the bat yet again. So with the showcase suspension and the showcase diff, what I found right off the bat was that it initiated nice and smooth, but what I found to be hard was carrying the drift on. And carrying the drift on, the difficulty behind that ended up becoming apparent when I tried to carry through some really long corners and got some really violent snapback in the car. But again, that was my mistake, not the game's mistake. I mean, it's all down to how you set these cars up. And really what I ended up finding out was the showcase stuff is really good for short, tight drift courses, but for the long sweepers, the showcase stuff may not be the best way to go. Now, as you will see in a future video with a drift Mustang that I built, that car was a lot better at carrying long drifts and maintaining a lot of drift angle in long corners. But again, this car was better in some of the tight stuff. So again, going through this first lap, which again was absolutely horrible, you guys will be able to see a little bit more. So stick around for the second lap where we actually start to get a little bit better at it. And we're kind of getting the hang of the tight corners early on in this first lap, but carrying on into the second lap, we start to get a little bit more comfortable with it. Now, physics-wise, right? This is the part that everybody wants to know about. So, physics-wise, you can initiate with the handbrake, and you can initiate by chopping the throttle. Now, when I say chopping the throttle, I mean off and back on immediately, or like quick burst of clicking the handbrake on and off. You cannot initiate these with the brake. I mean, you kind of can, but what you can do if you want to initiate with the brake, you'll have to brake, pitch the front end in, and then lift off the gas, get right back on, and sort of weight transfer the grip to the front, and then get the back end out based on power. So, again, they've definitely worked hard on getting that, getting a little bit of a different feel. And as you can see there, starting to get a little bit more of a hang of it and starting to get a little bit more of a feel for it. So, I think that it's something that once you start to get more of a feel for, you will get better at it. It's just going to take some practice, and that's one of the biggest things here, right? That's one of the biggest things here is it's going to take practice. Now, I ended up getting up to the target score on the second lap. They give you 3 laps to hit that target score, and it's a cumulative score, so I ended up hitting that score, you know, well into the second lap out of 3. So, not exactly a hard score to hit, but at the end of the day, you know, I was also just kind of playing with the physics and trying to feel out what the approach or what the best approach would be here in terms of how to maximize your points. Now, tried to do a little bit of a feint drift there, ended up going way out of bounds, smashing out of the track, and so I definitely can say that it's a fine balance, right? You want to find that fine line in between too much and not quite enough, because the feint drift, like a little bit of a feint slide, isn't really enough. Whereas if you try to just chuck the car in really hard, that's too much, and the game doesn't really like it. So you really do have to be smooth. You really do have to find that middle ground. It's definitely a little bit of finding the center of that like pendulum that's swinging back and forth. And I think it's actually a fairly deep system that will take some time to master. I mean, it's like it's easy to get into, hard to master, and you guys will see that as well in my Mustang video that I have coming very, very soon. Now, if you're enjoying this Need for Speed Heat footage, please do leave me a like in the comment section. Well, wow, in the comment section down below. Leave me a like on the video. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And if you have anything you would like to ask me in the comment section below. Since I have played the game and I have been playing the game, I am more than happy to reply to any of your questions and comments on what the game feels like. So if you all enjoyed this video, make sure to leave me a like. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to y'all later, and I hope you guys enjoyed.